Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a fantastic day so far. I hope today has been treating you well. In today's video, as you can see from the title down below, I'm trying out some new products from Made by Mitchell. I've got the Truth Tint, I've got the BALM, I've got one of the new bronzer sticks and blushes. I'm basically doing a full face of Made by Mitchell and then I'm going to come back in like 14 hours and show you how all of this has like worn throughout the day. The only products that I don't have are products that they don't do, brow products. Everything else, I do believe, everything else is from Made by Mitchell. So let's just get started. I first up got the Truth Tint and I got this in TT4. I don't know a range that has ever come out where I have been as deep as a 4. I have always been like a 1 or a 2. But apparently, judging by the swatches and everything, I'm hoping that this will be okay. Ooh, that looks good. That still looks quite light though. I'm going to do one side with a sponge and one with a sponge. This sponge that's a brush, and one side with an actual sponge. See what the difference is in like the coverage, see which one I prefer, and then even myself up because I do actually have to go and spend the day at work, so I don't want to look completely wonky. So I'm gonna give this a shake because it feels really, really liquidy. And that's what the packaging looks like. It's a lovely like frosted plastic bottle. Obviously the lid like matches everything else with the colouring. So let's see how this goes. Oh, very, very liquidy. And that colour looks great. Okay, so I'll do one side at a time. I really don't know what I'm doing. I will zoom you in as well so that you can see how this is looking real close up. I will also say my skin has been flaring. I have eczema. I have always had eczema, and recently, I don't know if you can tell, like on my hands, it's been on my neck, it's been on my chin. So if this is going to look good on like dry textured skin, today is the test because I've got a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so I will do this side with the sponge, see how much coverage we get, see what the finish is like. Okay, so that's giving me like a really decent sort of light coverage. I was about to say light to medium. That is a light coverage, which is absolutely fine. I love a light coverage, but like I say, I've got a lot going on at the minute, so I may well prefer the side with a brush. Generally, it does give you a little bit more coverage when you use a brush. I'll just get a little bit more out to put on this side just to try and make it somewhat equal. So the brush that I am using is the Real Techniques Seamless Complexion brush. I love this brush for foundation. So let's see how this is going to sink into the skin with a brush. Okay, first impression, I will zoom you in, but first impression, I much prefer the side with the sponge. I mean, I knew I would. Let me zoom you in and I'll show you what I mean. So the side with the sponge looks completely undetectable. Looks like this is just my skin. Even really, really close up in my mirror, I can't see it. I can't see anything, any texture, any coverage, but like it's covering. If that makes any sort of sense, it's very early. It's completely undetectable. Whereas on this side, I feel like, I don't know if it's because I had skincare on underneath. I had the Made by Mitchell moisturiser on, but I also had the Enquiry polyglutamic sunscreen. So maybe it's doing something a little bit funky, but I feel like it's separating a little bit on this side with the brush. Like while I was wiping the brush over my face, it was like lifting the sunscreen underneath, which is a little bit not ideal. So if I go over this side with the sponge, will it dial that down. Let's see. I will also see if this builds up at all. So I do feel like pressing that in with the sponge has dialed down that texture a little bit. Obviously it's taken off a little bit of that coverage. I've literally just woken up, so I've got a little bit of redness in my cheeks, which is absolutely fine. I will just take a tiny little bit more and we'll see if this is buildable or if this is like what we're getting. So I'm going to take a little bit on my sponge and I'm just going to keep it a little bit more precise, like right on my cheeks, sort of down the center of my face where I feel like I need a little bit more. So again, I feel like on this side that has built up, the side that I originally used the sponge on, but on this side where I use that brush, it's like it's not laying down right there, like right on my problem area. Not ideal, but I think that's probably more to do with the sunscreen that I had on underneath. It's a little bit of a playing game with a lot of base products. Like I know, for example, the Revolution Skin Silk doesn't work with basically any sunscreen. It just doesn't lay on it right. It lifts up like this and looks all chunky. So this is maybe one, but then on this side it looks fine. So like I can use that sunscreen and I can use this foundation, but I have to use a sponge. That's what we're deducing from this. So whilst you are zoomed in, I will get into the concealer, which is called BALM. And this is a balm concealer. I love a balm concealer. One of my favourite ones from collection is a balm. So that's what the packaging looks like. And inside, that's what the colour looks like. So I don't actually know. Do I use a brush? Do I use a sponge? I might use my sponge, you know. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. The sponge worked out so well on this side. I'm like, really might as well. So pick up a bit of that on there. It does feel, I mean, it's a balm, I know, but it does feel very firm. So let's see how much coverage I can get with this. I'm not seeing the amount of coverage that I would like with that concealer with the sponge, so I'm just going in with another brush. This is the Real Techniques contour brush. I don't think you can get this anymore, but it's perfect for concealer. So picking up a bit of that on there and I'm going to stamp that in. Oh, that's better, I can see it now. Wow. And that concealer is covering over where I had that little gap there. So brush for the concealer but sponge for the foundation. That's fine, I can absolutely do that on an everyday basis. So this is what it looks like, concealer, no concealer. That's a really decent amount of coverage. I like that a lot. I will also say one of the ingredients in the Bulk Balm is shea butter. So it is really nice and like hydrating and sort of like emollient, where it's actually going to hydrate my dry old skin. I'm not old, but I'm feeling it at the minute. Like my eczema is flaring like everywhere. I'm struggling quite a bit with my skin at the minute, so I really need some help. So I'm just bouncing over all of that with the sponge, and that is how all of that is looking. I definitely prefer the side where all of that was like, the foundation was like blended in and like applied initially with the sponge. It's still looking a little chunky on this side, but like I say, that is probably more down to my skincare underneath it, now that I know that some foundations just don't work over some skincare, and that is absolutely fine. So like I say, I don't have brow products. I'm going to go off, do my brows, and then we'll be back to finish off the rest of the face. Okay, so brows are on and I'm going on to the cream bronzer now. So this is the Blush Balm Bronzed, which I'm not gonna lie is a complete tongue twister, but we'll get there. And I got this in the shade Shady Business. So, ooh, that looks like a really, really good colour. So what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to take this on a brush because I don't know how pigmented this is going to be. That's a decent colour, isn't it? I couldn't remember, I mean I could have checked because it's just here, but I couldn't remember what shade I got in the liquid bronzer, but perhaps it was Shady Business and that's why I'm liking this colour. I mean, I really could have just checked, couldn't I? But I didn't. I just went with my heart, just ordered what I thought was right. This is blending out lovely, like no effort at all, which we all know is the amount of effort that I am willing to put in at 6:30 in the morning. So I really, really like this. And as a dry skin girly, there is nothing I love more than a cream bronzer or like a bronzer stick or blush as well. Like, I need all the hydration, so I love having that like creamy layer, and that colour is perfect. And like I said, there were a few shades lighter than this. There's shade ranges made by Mitchell, just gets the shade ranges so right, like so inclusive. I love it. I just love to see it. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my chin. Good morning. Hi. When I was getting ready for work yesterday, she came and sat on the arm of my chair and I was doing my makeup, and then she was like putting her paw up on my brush, and then I was doing her makeup. Wasn't I? Are you gonna sit at this side today? See, she's just gonna sit there and watch me. She's so cute. Right, I'm moving on. I can't be distracted by you. I've got to get ready for work. So, onto the Blush Balm. He brought out more shades of this. I got Papaya Pudding. I was just trying to find one that I don't have in the liquids because what's the point? So, ooh, that is a beautiful toasty colour. So I'm going to do the same thing because these could potentially be very, very pigmented as well. I'm going to take this on a brush. What are you doing? She's rubbing herself on the table because I'm not giving her enough attention. Yes, these are very, very pigmented, and because this is quite a dark shade, I'm going to approach with caution, but that colour is beautiful. I wanted something like orangey and like warm for summer. That's beautiful. That Blush Balm is leaving my skin looking really nice and glowy, but just in a hydrated way, not in like a glittery way at all. It just looks really nice and hydrated and glowy. We love to see it. So I'm going to just put a little bit of the bronze pod over the top of where I put the bronzer. Naturally, I have this in the shade Caramel Kiss. I've had this for a while. It's a fantastic powder bronzer. So just going to put a little bit on just to add a little bit more sun to my skin. I'm actually leaving the house today and not just to go to work. I'm going out afterwards. That's why it's going to be like a 14-hour wear test today. I'm going to be out for a while. So I really, really want this to turn out okay. So I don't have time to fix it now if it's not. So I'm just going to take my finger and put a little bit of that bronzer across my eyelid. I have a mascara that I thought I may as well try today. I may as well give it a go. So I'm just going to run over the top of this with a clean brush. I do have the eyeshadow palettes from Made by Mitchell, but honestly, I needed to leave for work like 10 minutes ago, so I'm just in a little bit of a hurry. And actually this gives us a fairly good indication of how that concealer balm works as like an eyeshadow primer. Not that it said that it was going to do that, but I've put it across my eyelids and then I've put bronzer over my eyelids, so we can see at the end of the day if there's any creasing or anything like that. I'm going to go in with the Graph Ink liquid liner, and this is in Brownie Points. Again, another product that I know and I love. I don't love the applicator. If you've seen any of my videos before, you know I definitely prefer a brush tip. That's my preference. But as far as felt tip applicators go, this is probably one of the better ones. So that is the liquid liner on. I love the tone, like the colour of the brown. Like, it's a light enough brown that you can tell it's not black. So many brown liquid liners just look black because they're so dark. Then I also have the Lash Lacquer in brown black. So get into this. I haven't used this before, so I have no idea how this is going to wear either. This is as much an experience for you as it is for me. So it's a really long, thin wand. That's absolutely not a problem. Let's see how much volume I can get with this, because I like a really thick, dramatic lash rather than something long and like lengthening. I want volume, so let's see what I can get with this one. So that is the mascara done. I like how that looks. It's not giving me the most volume. The brush is quite dense, so rather than brushing the product through, it's just like laying it on, if that makes any sort of sense. Like, it's not laying down a lot of product on each swipe, but it looks absolutely fine. I love the colour. I've also, for the first time in history, managed to not get any on my eyelids. So that's something. That's probably down to the brush being quite dense. So I don't have a lip liner. Well, I do, but it's like a dark plum, and that's just not the vibe that I'm going for today. So I'll get another one. I will use the e.l.f. Cream Glide lip liner in Truth or Bare. So I'll just do a little bit of this, and then I've got a lip gloss. And the lip gloss that I am using today is the Beam lip gloss, and this is in IRL, and it's like a beautiful iridescent sort of purple to blue, but it doesn't really come off like that on the lips. It just looks glossy. It just looks like a regular gloss. But then when you look close up, you can see the little like iridescent-y bits. So this is my nearly full face of Made by Mitchell. First impressions for those base products, 100%. Even now it's had, you know, a little bit of time to like sink in. The side with the sponge looks incredible, like so smoothed out, but also like hydrated. It looks beautiful. I'm noticing a few little problem areas on this side, like it's already sort of starting to collect in my little nose crease. It's just not wanting to cover that little area there. It's just worn away already. I am noticing around my chin it's looking a little bit textured, but like I say, my eczema has been eczema-ing, and there's just so much texture on like my neck and my chin and my jaw at the minute, and I don't know what it is that's causing it, but there is a lot going on. I am noticing that it's looking a little bit textured around my chin. The bronzer I love, the blush I love, the liner I already know I love. The mascara looks fine. It's not my favourite. It's absolutely not the worst though. It looks good. I will keep on playing, and obviously it's all dependent on this looking good at the end of the day because I've got a long day ahead and I need this to look good. So the time is currently 6:45 in the morning. So we will we'll be back in about 14 hours to see how all of this is wearing. I've got high hopes for this side. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, so it's the end of the day. It is currently 8:55 in the evening, 8:55. So how long have I had this on for? Was it like 6:45 this morning? So 14 hours, there or thereabouts. I'm so impressed, and I will say I said this morning, I am certain I am not judging anything that is going on my chin. The eczema is just on another scale. So it is looking dry on my chin, but everything else is still looking so nice. I feel like the amount of coverage that I had this morning is still there. I still really like how this is looking everywhere apart from like my chin and my jaw. But like I say, that's like problem area. Like a lot of people won't have that issue. This is like more than dry skin. Everything is dry, but the chin is just like actively raw at the minute, basically. So everything is still looking really, really nice. I would say if anything, it's still looking nicer on the side with the sponge. There was just something funny going on with the brush. I feel like it was sort of dragging the product off as it was applying it in like quite a strange way, and I wasn't able to build it up in the same way that I was with the sponge. So I definitely feel like this is a sponge skin tint. I'd be interested to know if you have tried it, what you think as well, but all in all, I think that this still looks really, really great considering it has been a whole day. I've been at work, I have been running around at work, and then I have been out in the freezing cold watching a cricket game. It was freezing. So I'm really, really impressed with how this has held up. I'm also really impressed that this colour matched me. I was not expecting 4 to match me, but then also like the other ones just didn't look quite right, and then 5 was too dark. Like I took a complete gamble and I feel like it paid off. I feel like this matches me really, really well. I'm thrilled. So I will zoom you in so that you can see how this looks all close up. But like I say, we're not judging the chin, okay? So if I try and keep quite still, you might be able to see it's still looking really nice and smooth, really nice and natural, like across my forehead. It's still looking great. I don't feel like it's looking too shiny. I didn't put any sort of powder or setting spray or anything like that on this morning, but I feel like it looks really, really good. I will say, however, I mean, it's still here. I did take a cotton bud and like take the product out of that like nose crease this morning because I was just seeing a lot of it. And it wasn't the look that I was going for. So I did like take that out and then just bounce over it with my sponge so that it didn't look like I had a bare stripe down the side of my nose. To remove all of that extra product that I felt was like gathering there. But I feel like this is all looking really, really great. Considering it's a skin tint, considering the like light, nothing coverage, but it still looks exactly the same all these hours later. Like I say, I'm so, so impressed. I will say there is some creasing on my eyelid, so the concealer, it didn't say it would be, but the concealer is not an eye primer. I would just use this like under my eye. If I was doing something, you know, where I felt like I needed a primer, I would use a primer as well as this, is what I'm saying. I wouldn't use this as a eye primer concealer. It's still looking nice like under the eyes, but across the eyelids it is forming little lines. But everywhere else, I'm thrilled. So let me know, have you picked up this foundation or concealer? I would absolutely love to know what you think of it as well. I feel like this launch has been a long time coming, and also like a lot of people are very, very excited about it. I can absolutely include myself in that. I have been absolutely waiting for this launch to come out. I really think that he has absolutely smashed this out the park. Coming out with 20 shades in a skin tint, that is like unheard of. The bronzer and blush as well, I feel like I can still see them. The bronzer especially, I feel like maybe I went in a little bit cautiously with the blush. I mean, I can still see it, but maybe I went a little bit cautiously. And also the mascara, I think that looks really nice as well. I will caveat that by saying I can't remember what it was, but something very, very funny happened at work today and I was crying with laughter. I can't remember what it was now. Hate it when that happens. Either way, doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter. I'm getting sidetracked now. Yeah, considering I was crying and I was having to like wipe tears from my eyes, I think that the foundation has done. The foundation, it's the end of a whole day. The mascara is doing fantastically well. So let me know, have you tried any of these products from Made by Mitchell, or what are your favourites? I'm all ears. I would love to know. So if you made it to the very, very end of this video, I just want to say a massive, massive thank you. It really does mean the whole entire world to me when you spend a little bit of your day with me. I appreciate you so, so much. I would love it if you gave this video a thumbs up. But until next time, thank you ever so much for watching. Bye.